My dad just called me and said that I owe $480 for my tax return because apparently if I just had $10 more taken out of my check every single week, then I wouldn't owe anything at all. And I said, what?
Surprise.
What? I owe money for working? I owe money for working because, yeah. And also, Dad, that sounds like a scam. You were telling me that if only $10 more every week came out, then I wouldn't owe the $480? How was I supposed to know that? How do you tell your employer, oh, take $10 more out of my paycheck every week so that I don't owe money when my tax return is done? What?
Welcome to reality, kid. Yep, that's right.
This is strange.
At this point, paying taxes is like a rite of passage into adulthood. You truly don't understand anything about the world until you have to pay bills and pay taxes. It's
That's
funny
true.
because I got a younger sister that's in Gen Z, and she was all for raising taxes, free health care, student loan forgiveness, and as soon as she seen that money taking out her first check, that opinion started to change. Then
That's what happened too whenever they had the COVID stimulus money, is that everybody was gung-ho, oh, let's give these people money, let's let them, you know, let's make it to where they don't have to struggle, like, oh, well, we don't want to let that happen to them. And then whenever Taco Bell was closed, people are like, listen, hey, yo, you're gonna have to work, all right? Like, you gotta, look, man, we can't just be giving you money. Like, you gotta work. Remember that?
Explain to her, the more
During
money
COVID?
you make, the more money is going to be taken out. And out of that money that's taken out, almost none of it's going to what you want it to go
That's
to.
right.
In fact, some of it's going to an entirely different country because our government's proved to be incompetent.
I'll tell you one fact, is that you think that's not what's going to happen? You think the money's not going to other countries? Then tell me why the highest tier of detectory of the tank is one from Israel in War Thunder. That crazy.
Yeah, socialism is an easier concept to stomach when you're a kid and you're used to your parents just giving you free stuff. But as soon as you got to start working for that stuff, you understand the actual value of it.
Damn.
Lowest taxes. How much do I owe? You get to figure that out.
Right.
Can I just pay what I want? No, we know exactly how much you owe, but you have to guess the number too. But what if I guess wrong? Jail.
By the way, you usually don't go to jail if you f up your taxes. I f***ed up my taxes before. I didn't go to jail. They just send you a letter. They say you need to pay the rest of the money. Yeah, you only go to jail if you do it on purpose. You just pay more. Yeah, you just pay a fine.
Wrong with adults living with their parents.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand. Right now, the average amount of money you have to make in order to live by yourself is $60,000 a year, meaning you have to get paid $30 an hour. Come here. And that is just to cover rent. That's not including furniture. That's not including other bills. That's not including car issues, right? If you were to put all that together, you have to make about $75,000 a year, meaning you have to get paid over $35 or $40 an hour.
Taxes.
So if you know somebody that is making you feel bad because you live at home with their parents, unless they are making $40 an hour at their job, they're definitely lying to you about their living situation. They either live in a closet or they have 4 roommates. There's nothing wrong with staying with your parents right now because at this moment in time, the new generation, they can't save any money.
This is only going to get worse. I remember whenever I was like 21 and 22, this is the same thing that was happening. Like, because that was like in the midst of the recession that we had back then.
I think going up is the cost of things, not the actual payment towards their lives.
If you're blessed to have parents that love you, there's absolutely nothing wrong with staying home until you're ready to leave.
Obviously not.
I've seen people leave home prematurely for multiple reasons. Sometimes it's because of dysfunction, but usually it's just because they don't want to live under their parents' rules. And to be honest, what usually happens is they go and get an apartment, and since they got to pay the rent for the apartment, they go and get a low-wage job because they don't have any job experience because they rush themselves out of the house, and they end up spending more time at the job than they do enjoying the freedom away from their parents. And then it just becomes a cycle because those low-wage jobs are only going to pay you so much. So if you got parents, that's a huge advantage. Stay home until you're ready. I have a buddy that's 27 years old. He owns an entire moving company, but he still lives with his parents. By the time he leaves, he's going to be able to put a 50% down payment on whatever house he wants.
What's going on here at the migrant crisis? What do people think about the migrants here inside Chicago?
On some real shit, I think they need to go on back where they at, Joe. We ain't got enough room for them.
Oh my God.
And where should they go?
Shit. Somewhere.
Shit.
Where's room for them at? Either if it's back to where they at or another little city. But Chicago, Tupac, man, we already got a lot going on.
What do you think about them giving them free hotels, free phones?
That's what I'm saying. They treating them better than real residents. Like, they giving them shit that they ain't give us.
Damn.
And we born and raised in Chicago. They come here giving them 15,000 in their name, a GN link, all type of shit. I'm down. But you got homeless people sleeping on the street. You know, they fucked up, but y'all bringing people in, treating them better than motherfuckers who from Chicago. I don't like that, though.
What's your direct message to Mayor Johnson, then?
Man, fix this. Get this shit together, bro.
Solid message. Yeah, he's right.
Help the city. Don't just be all talk.
Yeah, allowing immigrants come in and then giving them more benefits than Americans that have been paying taxes their entire lives is just crazy to me. I'm not sure what the game plan is. I'm not sure if it's for cheap labor. I'm not sure if it's to stabilize the population because we're at a declining birth rate. I was actually talking to my wife about this recently, and this might sound a little bit pessimistic, but this is kind of what I'm starting
I think we have a declining birth rate because people don't want to have kids because they can't afford it. That's the reason. It's not really that complicated. Like most of the time whenever I see people that are like, oh yeah, we decided not to have kids, the main reason why is because they're focusing on their career, or it's either a direct or an indirect reason that's related to money. Because people mainly focus on their career so they can make money and feel more financially stable. I see people talking about it, and it's because they simply don't have the money. Kids cost a lot to be born? Yeah, exactly. Do you don't want my kids growing up in a dying climate and earth? Yeah, for sure. But like, I think that every single one of them, like, there's money is like a huge factor. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of broke people that have kids, right? But I think that the problem is that the conscientious people, the people that are the most financially illiterate and irresponsible, are having the most kids because they don't understand it. Give me a second. My dad's calling me real quick. Yeah, what up? He said the reason why people do it too is because they don't have the freedom to like go travel or go do anything. And I think that's also true. It's because also I think the reason for that though is like people that don't have the freedom to do that is because they weren't able to do that when they were young because they didn't have the money. Everything always goes back to money, I think. In almost all cases, not all cases, but almost all.
Think maybe they're bringing in immigrants to help with production when it comes to manufacturing bullets or whatever we might need for World War III, or maybe it's just so they can be soldiers in World War III. But either way, if you're the average American, you should be upset because Americans can hardly afford to eat, and we're giving our tax dollars to people that aren't even from here.
I literally just did my taxes and I owe money. I call my dad, I'm like, did I do this right? He's like, I don't know, maybe you should pay someone to do your taxes for you.
Yeah.
I said, does it sound like I'm in the position to be paying someone else to do my taxes when I already owe the government money? God, are you there? I hate being an adult.
You can't take responsibility.
Oh, bro. This guy will have like he'll have some person on the stream and he'll be like, so let me get this straight. You are in debt because you like buying old video game systems? And it's like, so you spent $3,000 a month on buying vintage video games and you don't have any money? Have you thought about not doing that? And they're like, yeah, I thought about buying PlayStations instead. Basically, he brings on people that is like, these are people that don't know what 7 times 3 would be, right? The guy that has 3 cars, yeah, it's like, yeah, I bought an $8,000 car. I pay $1,500 a month on it, and it's a 36-month lease. $152K in bad debt. That's a lot of money at 25, bro. Like, you got to be like, that's impressive. I'm gonna be real. I think that's impressive that you racked up that much.
Yeah, I don't know. I keep thinking about the worst case scenario.
What, bankruptcy? That'd be really.
Well, that'd be a good idea. You do that right away, because that way you put it on cooldown for 7 more years. You do it again. You send it to a debt collection agency, then they can't legally garnish your wages anymore, depending on the state that you live in. Then eventually the debt collection agency reports it to the IRS as income for you. And then that year you just don't make any money, so you don't have to pay taxes on that money. You get a deferral for your taxes, and then you get that forgiven by the government. But you have to be cheating all the time. Like, always be cheating, man. Doing whatever you can to get the money, because if you're not doing that, somebody else is going to do that. It's more common than you think.
$152,000.
That's a car loan for $16,000. This girl is stupid with money. Why you need to buy a car for $16,000? That's nuts. That's too much for a car. To be fair, like, used cars have gone up a lot in price recently, right? Like, I don't know if they've started going back down again, but probably not because of inflation, right?
$152,027.
Damn.
In bad debt.
Yeah.
That is a number that just shouldn't even be considered as a number for someone in your age.
You know who's at fault? You know who fucked up here? She 25. She fucked up, number one. Number two is the schools. How much you want to bet that she probably not that good at math? That she don't understand what percentages are and shit like that, right? It's the education system.
At least she's single with no kids. It's probably the best time to do it. Two of my buddies lived together in their early 20s. And when I say buddies, I mean guys that I've known since I was 14 years old. Right. My two buddies were living together, and I remember this because every time I would come back home from college, they would have a new gadget. They were buying like electric skateboards. They were buying motorcycles. They were buying cars. And it got to the point where they were working 40 hours a week and could hardly afford to eat because all the money they were dishing out was because the interest rates were high.
They got to default on the money. You got to declare bankruptcy. You got to, like, bro, because then it's like if you're living with one guy, like, really, the cooldown is like 3.5 years. You have one guy buy all the stuff for one period of time, then you buy all the stuff the next time. You got to be thinking about this a lot. Cooldown, yeah, exactly. Can't default on school loans. So, like, the way that you have to get around that is by not making money. Like, you basically have to assume that they're going to eventually forgive the student loans. And so then you never pay down the principal, and they can't garnish your wages until, like, you make a surprisingly large amount of money. So then you have to figure out other ways that you can invest your money into things that you can monetize or do without allowing it to go above the threshold for wage garnishing. That's what you have to do.
Eventually, some of their stuff got repossessed, and they realized the only reason we feel like we're slaves and the only reason we're in such a scarcity mindset all the time is because we've made so much debt. We've built up so much debt from buying shit that we don't even need. So they started working 60 hours a week and paying off debt for about 1.5 years straight. Eventually, they got to the point where they didn't have any debt anymore. Fast forward to today, they're completely out and they don't want to go back into debt. They saved their money. They both make about $100,000 a year. One of my buddies just called me a couple days ago and said he makes he just got a $20,000 raise on his salary, and the other buddy owns a pharmacy in Kenya, so they're both doing pretty well.
In Kenya. I think also, like, that's just what happens whenever you're young, right? Is like whenever you're young, you don't have a lot of skills or like experience or anything like that. So like obviously you're gonna be dumb.
I don't know if the economy is ever going to get any better, but the best thing you can do from my experience is to live way below your means and never go into debt, especially for something you don't need.
People go crazy with spending money. Like, what's sad about it to me is that there's so many young people that feel like they need to buy all this expensive shit, and they do that, and then they ruin their life.